If you spend any time watching Tyler Perry movies, you might have noticed something peculiar. There aren't many A-list black male actors or A-list actors in general gracing his films. This is surprising when you consider Perry's towering status in Hollywood as one of its most influential black producers. With access to substantial financial resources, literally billions of dollars, one would expect that top-tier talent would regularly feature in his projects. So why is that not the case? Tyler Perry's rise to success is a story that itself could make for a compelling film. He went from experiencing homelessness to becoming a multimillionaire, owning a private jet and one of the largest film studios in the country. His life story is filled with trials and triumphs that could rival the best rags-to-riches tales in cinema history. But instead of delving into such rich narrative territory, audiences often find themselves served the same formulaic content, Perry donning a wig and dress to play Medea or other similarly styled characters. This creative choice has not gone unnoticed, especially by high-profile directors like Spike Lee, who have been quite vocal in their criticism. With Perry's immense reach and influence, his work has become a focal point of conversation within the industry. Spike Lee, an outspoken filmmaker known for his unfiltered opinions, has been particularly critical. With connections to Hollywood heavyweights like Wesley Snipes, Denzel Washington, and Samuel L. Jackson, Lee's words carry considerable influence. He hasn't held back in expressing his thoughts about Perry's work, accusing it of perpetuating damaging stereotypes. The friction between these two prominent figures in black cinema isn't a recent development. It first garnered widespread attention in 2009 when Lee publicly criticized Perry's films and television shows, labeling them as coonery and buffoonery. In essence, Lee argued that Perry's creations were reinforcing negative stereotypes about the black community. During an interview with Black Enterprise, Lee didn't mince words, likening Perry's content to the stereotypical depictions often found on the idiot box, a harsh critique aimed at television's role in perpetuating such imagery. Lee acknowledged Perry's intelligence and his ability to attract a wide audience, but he couldn't overlook the imagery Perry was promoting. To Lee, it seemed as though Perry was more interested in pandering to what would generate the highest ratings, even if that meant reinforcing harmful stereotypes. And Lee wasn't alone in this sentiment. Many viewers and critics agreed, believing that Perry's brand of comedy often leans heavily on simplistic and stereotypical portrayals. Perry, on the other hand, has argued that he's providing employment opportunities for black actors and making substantial money, which he sees as a positive contribution to the community. However, his critics counter that this doesn't excuse the perpetuation of negative stereotypes. They argue that profiting from content that reinforces harmful imagery is akin to a drug dealer making money while causing harm to the community or a large corporation generating massive profits, but at the expense of quality and local businesses. In other words, financial success doesn't necessarily equate to doing what's right or beneficial for the community. Spike Lee has always taken a different approach to filmmaking, one that seeks to celebrate black culture without resorting to stereotypes. His movies may not always achieve blockbuster status at the box office, but he's proud of the stories he tells and the messages they convey. For him, it's about showing love and respect to the black community through his art. Tyler Perry, however, didn't take Lee's criticism quietly. In a 2009 interview on 60 Minutes, Perry was direct and unapologetic when asked about Lee's critique of his work. He expressed that he was completely overhearing Spike Lee's name, going as far as to say that Spike could go straight to hell. This was no mere disagreement. Perry was fed up with Lee's persistent critiques, especially those centering around coonery and buffoonery. Perry wasn't just defending himself. He was telling Lee to mind his own business and stop taking shots at him and other figures like Oprah and Clint Eastwood. Despite Perry's fervent response, many fans remained unconvinced by his arguments. They pointed to recurring issues within his movies, such as the frequent reliance on stereotypical portrayals of black families and culture. In many of his films, black men and women are depicted in problematic ways, contributing to narratives that don't necessarily reflect the complexity and diversity of the black experience. This pattern raises concerns about how Perry's work might be shaping public perceptions, especially when it comes to the portrayal of black characters. Moreover, rumors about a toxic work environment, forced religious practices on set, and whispers regarding Perry's stance on LGBTQ+ issues have only added to the controversy. There's also a noticeable pattern in Perry's casting choices. Dark-skinned black male actors are often cast as villains, raising questions about colorism and the implications of these roles. Criticism of Perry's work isn't just coming from the audience. Industry insiders are talking about it too. Chris Rock, for instance, has publicly highlighted a recurring issue in Perry's films: the lack of kind, respectful, dark-skinned boyfriends. To illustrate his point, Rock mentioned the late Tupac Shakur, suggesting that if Tupac were alive today, he might be cast in a Perry movie as the stereotypical bad, dark-skinned boyfriend rather than a hero. Rock's observation points to a broader issue of bias in casting choices, which has significant implications for how Black characters are portrayed in media. This is no small matter. In an entertainment industry historically plagued by limited and stereotypical representations of Black people, the narratives that filmmakers choose to tell, and how they choose to tell them, carry substantial weight. Cultural critic Jamila Lemieux also added her voice to the conversation. In an open letter to Perry published by NPR, she expressed concerns about his use of stereotypes, particularly through his character media. Lemieux argued that through media, audiences are laughing at one of the most significant figures in the Black community, the matriarch. She questioned why such an important role was being portrayed by a 6'3" man with prosthetic breasts, suggesting that this choice diminishes the portrayal of Black women. While Lemieux acknowledged Perry's defiance of Hollywood norms, she also pointed out that many Black people share similar criticisms of his work as white critics do. For Lemieux, the issue wasn't just about representation, but about the perpetuation of images that don't serve the Black community well. The criticisms from figures like Chris Rock and Jamila Lemieux prompt important questions about how Perry's creative decisions impact the film industry and the portrayal of Black characters. Issues of colorism and stereotyping in Hollywood aren't new. They've been long-standing problems that continue to draw attention. In recent years, movements like #OscarsSoWhite and #MeToo has brought increased scrutiny to these practices, exposing the entertainment industry's darker side. Hollywood's reputation has undeniably taken a hit over the years. What was once seen as the pinnacle of glamour and success is now often viewed as a place rife with problems. Even the Hollywood Walk of Fame, once an ultimate symbol of achievement, has lost some of its shine, now feeling more like a walk of shame with the number of stars who have fallen from grace. Rewind to a pivotal moment in Hollywood's history. On a February afternoon in 1940s America, Hattie McDaniel made history as the first African-American to win an Academy Award for her role in Gone with the Wind. It should have been a moment of unbridled celebration and progress. Instead, McDaniel was forced to sit at a separate table, away from the rest of the cast, due to the segregationist policies of the time. Rather than being a symbol of advancement, her win highlighted the entrenched racial discrimination within Hollywood and the nation at large. Fast forward 80 years, and while some progress has been made, Hollywood is still grappling with many of the same issues. The conversation around diversity and inclusion has gained momentum, but meaningful action often lags behind the rhetoric. The 2020 Oscars, for instance, were not without racial controversies, adding to a long list of instances where the industry has failed to fully embrace the diversity of talent it boasts. Turning back to Tyler Perry's contributions to this landscape, a noticeable pattern emerges in his movies and TV shows. Dark-skinned Black actors are frequently cast as antagonists or portrayed in a negative light. Take Steve Harris in Diary of a Mad Black Woman, for instance. He plays Charles McCarter, a successful lawyer who turns out to be a nightmarish husband, treating his wife with utter disdain. This portrayal is far from unique in Perry's body of work. Another example is Blair Underwood, an actor who broke ground in the 1980s playing a lawyer in lay law at a time when such roles for Black actors were rare. Despite his achievements, Underwood and others like him have found themselves typecast in roles that perpetuate negative stereotypes, particularly within Perry's films. This ongoing trend raises questions about Perry's motivations and the impact of these portrayals on the audience. Critics argue that his consistent reinforcement of these stereotypes is damaging, especially considering the broader societal prejudices they might reinforce. Perry has undeniably built a media empire, complete with a sprawling studio, an impressive fortune, and a devoted fan base. His supporters are some of the most loyal in the entertainment world, eagerly consuming anything he produces and staunchly defending his work. Perry has also provided opportunities for numerous actors, particularly Black actors, in an industry where such opportunities are often limited. However, even the most ardent fans might not fully grasp the potential harm these portrayals can cause. Despite the criticism, Perry's audience remains fiercely loyal. His Medea character has become a cultural icon in its own right. For many, Medea is more than just a character. She embodies the tough love, humor, and wisdom of a familiar matriarchal figure. People flock to theaters for Perry's films because they know what to expect: a blend of comedy, drama, and familiar storytelling that provides a sense of comfort. This loyalty doesn't diminish the concerns raised by his critics, but rather complicates the conversation. The issue at hand isn't just about entertainment. It's about the narratives that shape societal perceptions and self-identity within the Black community. It's about what messages are being reinforced and the long-term impact of those messages on both individual and collective psyches. So what do you think about Tyler Perry's body of work and the criticisms it has garnered? Does his success and the opportunities he creates outweigh the concerns about the stereotypes he perpetuates? Or is it essential to hold creators like Perry accountable for the images they project into the world? Let's hear your thoughts on this complex issue. And if you found this discussion thought-provoking, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth explorations, and join the conversation in the comments below.